Welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and I desperately need to clean out my fridge. This chat is with the incredible Sinem Sakaoglu, who is a feature, commercial, and music video director from Hamburg, Germany, who mainly works in stop motion. Now, when I asked her what she'd like me to say about her in this intro, she said that she'd like to be known as the smartest stop motion director there is because she made the super smart decision to move away from Hollywood, where there's a big market for films, all the way to Hamburg, Germany, where there's absolutely no market whatsoever. And to make matters worse, on top of this, she recently lost a pitch against a UK director. And on top of this, to make matters even more worse, she has always had cats, but currently she is catless. Okay, but actually this chat is really, really great because Sinem is just so down to earth and how she shares her incredible journey of how she became an accomplished German director from her humble beginnings back in Turkey. She also shares the unique funding mix that exists in Europe, which allows directors to produce feature films, as she has done, in a totally different manner and style than they are done in the US. Some of the projects she's worked on include Sandman and the Lost Sand of Dreams, Hadia and Kara, her own up-and-coming stop-motion feature film, which is currently in development. In fact, she has decided to use this podcast as a way of launching the teaser for Kara. So if you're listening to this right now, which you are, please give it a pause and go check it out immediately. The link to it is in the description of this chat. You will be absolutely blown away by how beautifully she has captured her story in such exquisite stop motion that is so very rare to see. I think I've watched it about 15 times now. So, assuming you just went and gave that a watch and you're back now, let's dive in. Yes. Hello, Sinem. How are you? How's it going?
Hi, Terry. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm talking to you. I'm so happy we're chatting. And yeah, let's just get into it. So you're a stop motion director, mainly stop motion in Germany. Yeah.
That's true.
Tell me the story, because I know that you are not from, are you from Germany originally?
No. My somebody created a Wikipedia page for me, and they are
Wikipedia
utterly
page. That's an achievement.
That is an achievement. I have a page, but they're utterly confused.
Who do I talk to get a page for myself?
I don't know. I have no idea how these pages get created. One day, it was actually funny. I was at a bar and having a beer, and I was with some friends. We were sharing a table with people, and they were like, we met, we started chatting and everything. They asked who I am, blah, blah, blah. And then 5 seconds later, new generation, they were like, oh my God, this is who you are. And I was like, how'd you know that? And they're like, you have a Wikipedia page. That's how I found out I have a Wikipedia page. Not that I incessantly Google my name. I only do that once a week. No. Anywho, I'm born and raised Turkish. I'm Turkish, I guess. Naturalized American.
Okay.
Because I lived in LA for about 8 years, and a resident of Germany for the last 16 years by now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
quite a journey. Turkey to America to Germany.
Yeah, I have 3 IDs. It's very confusing for people.
So what compelled you to make all these switches? Was it the film direction life, or is it's just coincidences that you ended up in these places?
Well, I always wanted. I went to it's kind of like an American high school in Turkey. It was a private school. And a lot of my friends made the switch right after high school to go to college in America and stuff. So somehow it's kind of planted in your mind, I think, that you always want to go to America. And then I fell in love, so I stayed in Turkey. Didn't make the switch then. Then I fell out of love, and after university, I found a way to get to America. And it was really just because I wanted to experience something different, and I wanted to live elsewhere and see. And for a while, it was great. And after a while, I thought, well, now it's kind of time to see another continent maybe, and be closer to maybe family and friends. So I didn't want to go back to Turkey. So I decided, how about Europe, somewhere closer by, not 16, 17 hours on a flight, but just a couple of hours. So ended up in Hamburg, Germany.
So when did this career begin for you? So you moved to America just kind of because you wanted to go and live there, and then somehow you stumbled into a very extreme niche of animation, which is like a niche industry in itself. Like I feel like you have to really be driven to, make a career in stop motion. So there's something you're not telling me yet.
You have to be driven. You have to really, really like it.
Yeah.
You have to love it. You have to really. It's so much work. You know it yourself. I mean, it's so much work. You cannot really just say, "Oh my God, it looks so much fun. I want to do this," and just make a whole career out of it. It's painful in a way. My background kind of is similar to yours. I mean, I always wanted to do something in animation. That was something I always wanted to do from high school. I was always drawing things. I was into animation, but there was really not an animation school in Turkey that I could apply to. I tried to get into industrial design. They didn't want me. So I said, well, okay, I will just keep drawing myself and see what happens. And I studied actually something with languages, simultaneous translation, the whole other story. Then when I went to America with $200 in my pocket, with one apartment with 3 months rent, I think we had paid upfront, I decided I need to get a job. And I didn't know the first thing about getting a job in America. So I thought, okay, what do? I had a magazine. This is before internet, obviously. I mean, not before internet, but you know how I mean it. No social media, no nothing. Today's internet. And I had a magazine sort of thing with some ads in it. And I picked one, and they were looking for data entry people. And I was like, I can do data entry. I didn't know that this company was one of the global 5 big business consulting firms at the time. I walked in, got a data entry job. That led into me being hired full-time, to moving into, I think the first year I made senior, then manager the next year. So it just kind of snowballed into, and at some point I was like, what am I doing? I didn't necessarily want this as a career. I just needed to make some money.
Yeah.
That's around the time when I started making my own stop motion film in my 1-bedroom Hollywood apartment.
So you're working this data entry job. You're a manager somehow.
The data entry part was just 1 week. Then I was in the marketing department. Then I made I was just
you're going to be CEO in a year, basically.
Yes.
And you're like, what am I doing? I need to make a stop motion video in my apartment, and that's my hobby.
Yes.
So and you'd never done anything like that before?
No, I hadn't.
So why? What compelled you to like get a camera?
I guess
things in a story.
I guess it's really because of this drive that I wanted to do something, and I always wanted to do something in animation, and I didn't think I could. I didn't have the training of 2D animation. I went back to school after that film, and I learned it the correct way. But I basically thought I can't really do a traditional 2D animation, but I can probably move objects around, and maybe I can build a puppet. I went to Home Depot and
give me the stuff, you said. Honestly though, like for me, stop motion I find it easier than 2D. Like you don't have to know how to draw volume and perspective. It's just there in front of you, and you start moving stuff and it works.
I think that's the thing. It's accessible. It's more accessible than 2D. In 2D or computer animation, you need to have some sort of background, and you need to know a lot of technical things up front. I mean, obviously stop motion can be very technical, and if the more you know, the better your production value is, and the more tricks you can do, etc. I'm not saying you don't have to know technical stuff, but without knowing it, it's still accessible. And I mean, back in the day, I shot this film on a Super 16 Bolex camera, so I had to know a little bit loading film and stuff like that. Today you have a cell phone and little tripod, and even if you don't have a tripod, you can just put it on something and then start moving objects, making pictures, and then it's magical. It's accessible, it's magical, it's moving all of a sudden. So that's how I started. And then
so you made this film, and then you realized that this is what you wanted to do for the next like 20 years.
Well, I think it's unfair to just brush it with, so you made this film because
well, you said you went back to school. You went
because I took 10 days off work to make this film with my then partner. And we were two people making this film, and we thought, okay, 3-4 days to build the stuff, 2 or 3 days to shoot it, and then maybe a couple of days for like editing. 2 years later.
Okay.
Basically, I had a secret identity life. I was going to work in the mornings, during the day, business consulting, coming back home, sleeping an hour or so, animating the night through, and sleeping an hour in the morning, going back to work. And I kept that up for quite a long time.
You had 2 hours of sleep.
2 or 3 hours of sleep, yeah, for quite a long time.
You might be the most driven person I've talked to yet, to be honest. For 2 years.
And after that, I thought to myself, why don't I do this for a job?
Right. That's exactly what I thought when I was waking up at like 5 or 6 a.m. to like watercolor before work, and my little like watercolor animation, which turned into a job now. But same thing. I was like, if I'm doing this without anybody forcing me to, and there's an industry that exists where I could get paid to do this, why not switch it up? So yeah, same difference. So 2 years later, you finished your film.
I finished the film. And
how did that feel?
Awesome. Yeah. Really awesome. It still has a very special place in my heart. I have to say, it's a crappy animated. I didn't know the first thing about building anything. It was about this little farmer robot woman harvesting batteries to keep living, who falls in love with a street lamp, which the street lamp was just a street lamp. So it has a very, spoiler alert, very sad end. It was very artsy, black and white and everything. But I learned quite a lot during that process. I learned that batteries are heavy, so if you need props, you better build them, and other things, like there is something called rigging, which I tried to do with. I had grass, just because it was taking place on her farm. I bought these roll-up grass patches from Home Depot, and I built the whole set with that, only to realize they grow. So it has this very funky effect in the film, because I couldn't animate some of the shots in a week, and then the grass grows in mid-shot.
It was real grass?
Yes.
It wasn't like
I was watering. No.
Were you watering?
Yes, I was. I think we've lost a lot of listeners now.
I love this. This is amazing. I've never, there's like animation outside. I've never heard of anybody using live grass on their set, and it unfortunately growing over the period of time you needed to. Here you are mowing the grass for your next shot.
I would love to pretend that it was born out of an artistic vision or something, but it was really just ignorance.
Somebody watched it and they're like, I really love how you made the grass grow over the shots. And
yeah.
You're like, oh my God.
This has deep meaning about the development of the arc of the character. No, it just started growing. I didn't even see it because I didn't really have money to watch dailies. We used to send the film to lab, I think monthly or something, to get back. No line tester, no nothing. It's just someone at the camera telling you higher, lower, no, a bit, no, you. So it was really just.
I feel like you need to do a homage to this. Your next production should have live grass in it that grows.
Yeah.
Gosh, no, I love this. This is incredible. I like, so you're working this job every day, and something is compelling you to spend all of your energy and emotion and drive into producing this film that probably means so much to you. And then you finish it, and then you decide, was there a moment you decided this is how I need to change my life?
I think it happened gradually during the whole production of that film. And I think the kick came in when we sent the film to, it actually got some awards, Slam Dance and everything, back in the day. But it wasn't it. It was before that I decided, no, it is time to now do something that I have so much passion for. And making more money for other companies is not that really. It's it was a strange moment calling my parents from LA, and telling them I just quit my job. I'm going to, and in Turkish there is really no word for stop motion, so I had to tell them I'm making cartoons now. And they were like, yes, as a hobby, but you are working, right? And I was like, no, not really. But it was around the time where I also had decided to move to Europe, so it just kind of came as a bundle, making the switch. I didn't really speak German when I came here, so I decided to go to an animation school to kill two birds with one stone. The learning the language while doing something that I enjoy, and learning the proper way of animating, what is supposed to happen. What did I miss when I was making this one film that I made? And it was training in traditional 2D, actually, this program. So it was about 6-7 months. It wasn't like a college. It was a 14-month program. where we had like 7 months of theory, from layout to boarding and storytelling and character design, all that jazz, and then 7 months of project time where we as a group made another short film, a 2D film.
Why didn't you stay in the US where, animation, there's a big hub of animation schools and animation studios? Like, you were already there in LA, even. Like,
I know.
tons of stuff. I just think it's really interesting that you're like, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to risk, like, you already risked a lot coming to America with $200 in your bank. Like, that's incredible. But then to say, I'm going to start from scratch in another country where I don't even know the language, into a new career, like, that takes a lot of guts.
People have said this to me over the years, and maybe it's time I start believing them. It didn't feel courageous at the time, or when you're doing it, it doesn't feel like anything.
Well, tell me how it
big.
Felt at the time then. Like, what did you do?
Exciting.
You had to do? Exciting. Yeah.
Exciting. It was like, wow, cool, I can do this. I do like underdogs in life. I always root for the underdog, and I guess maybe it was my attempt at being the underdog. And I was a big young Spunkmeyer fan. The reason I was always interested in stop motion has a lot to do with his films. And from my, again, not very well-informed mind at the time, I thought Europe is small. Once I get there, maybe I can find a job in his studio. I mean, how far can Prague be? So that was, and I think content-wise, I was more driven to the European style of animation because it has a bit of a less homogeneous kind of voice, different kinds of storytelling. I mean, stop motion or animation in a way is seen more as an art form. Well, we'll get to that maybe later, because when it comes to feature films, there's a different aspect that we would need to talk about. But from a shorts perspective, it's a little bit more unique. I think it's seen as a storytelling tool and technique, and not just kids format.
Right.
And that's probably what I was drawn to back in the day. Right. Yeah.
So you're in Germany, you're learning German, you're learning animation.
Yes.
Then how did you end up here, where we're talking right now in 2020?
I think, like with anybody who's come to a certain point in their career in this business, I was working my ass off. I was very driven, but I was also very lucky. I was at the right place at the right time. So luck, I think, had also quite a lot to do with it. The first thing I did when I was at this animation school, once I started speaking German a little bit, broken, but enough to kind of explain what I want to explain, I started looking for internships at, and Hamburg actually had, not anymore as much, but had back in the day when I moved here, a more established animation scene, more in the traditional 2D area, which moved a little bit into CGI 3D over the years, but it had a lot of talent and companies and productions and stuff. So I started just knocking on doors, and the second door I knocked on, they said, we don't want an intern, we don't need an intern, but you have business experience, you have animation experience, would you like to production manage our feature film?
Yes.
Yes, and I said yes.
Wow.
Sure.
That's quite the opportunity right away.
That's what I mean with luck. I mean,
Yeah.
it was really just
luck, but also like you consciously made decisions that got you into that place.
Yeah.
Like you had that business experience because you were driven to take a job, and you had the animation experience because you came there, and you were in Germany and you were knocking on doors because, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I feel like there's from like talking to so many people and myself even, there's luck, but it's also like you're putting yourself in luck's
way.
and constantly
We're buying the lottery
you're manufacturing
tickets.
the luck. Like you're like, okay, this opportunity didn't work out, I'm gonna keep knocking until something happens. And it just so happened the second door, like that's incredible. Some people it takes 100 doors, right?
Of course. I mean, yeah, I mean, and it turned out to be an amazing experience for me, because I was all of a sudden learning so much more and so much faster than I was at school, that I was trying to still produce this short film I was producing at school. It was again the same scenario. I was working a day job at night animating and thinking like, what the hell did I get myself into this time? But
please tell me you're not doing that right now. Like
no. Except that it's a Sunday and we're talking from my studio. No, I'm here only for the stable internet connection.
Oh, okay.
I will not work today.
Okay, good.
No. And it turned out to be, that film was The Three Robbers, directed by Hayo Freitag. Very cool director. I learned so much from him. I think that's also another thing. If you have the opportunity, if you're starting out, if you have the opportunity to work with amazing directors, you learn most by just being around, seeing them work, seeing how they brief stuff, seeing how they piece together the whole story. It was an amazing adventure. And there again, I was production managing, but somehow not credited. I became his assistant, director's assistant, kind of doing all the briefings and the first passes at just looking at animation. I went and lived in Manila for about 7 months, because that's where we did the animation at a company over there. So I learned so much from just going through from the very beginnings of there was no story on the table to we have a film now. And that film also has a very special place in my heart. It's I don't know if you've heard of it, you've seen it, but it's
that's incredible. So like how did you so you're production managing assistant director, how did you get your own director stuff after that? Because now you have all this experience and know-how. Because like for me, just being at Stupid Buddy and working there and just being exposed to the process, like before, everything's in my imagination on how stuff gets done. I have my own ideas, and then you're in the studio and you're like, oh, this is how it actually gets done, and here are the things, etc. So how do you make the jump from I mean, I feel like you're a smart person because you started off as the data entry and you're ending up as the CEO, and here you start as the intern and you end up as assistant director. So
Terry, let's hope I'm smart. If not, that says a lot about the world.
You're just a walking genius. Every time somebody meets you, they're like, put her up.
No.
So tell me Tell me how you ended up directing then from this.
I think like with pretty much everything I do, I first do the job and then I feel like I get the credit for it, or the recognition for it. This was kind of like the story. Also how I'm a curious person by nature, so I get curious about things, and I started doing the job of the director before it was offered to me. How that happens is you break into a production that night. No. The team, the line producer on the Three Robbers, it's also about connections. Obviously, the line producer Nicola on the Three Robbers had moved on to this stop motion feature the first time in Germany. That was being planned. It was a producer-driven project. They had already secured the rights, and it was just the producer, her, and she turned to me and said, "Come on board. We're gonna have to put a team together." So it was unclear as to what I do: production, animation, something. But it was her invitation that actually kind of paved the path to directing, in the sense that when I joined them, we were just three people trying to, in Europe, the way you fund feature films, it's a little bit different. No, it's quite different from America. You have to get a lot of films are getting done by government funding. It's a mix of government funding, TV stations, broadcasters, distributors, etc. It's a puzzle, but the main part is coming from government, and they give you the funding in different stages. So you always have the development funding first, and for that you kind of put the concept together, you start putting the script together, and sometimes like a concept teaser together to get to the next stage of funding. So we were actually busy laying the groundwork for Sandman.
That sounds extremely complicated and tough.
I tried to boil it down.
No. I mean, no, you explained it well. I just mean, if I was in the thick of it, trying to get government funding and TV broadcasters on board, it sounds like a very, like you said, a puzzle.
It is a puzzle. It is a daunting puzzle. There's more nitty-gritty stuff about it. There's a lot to criticize, but there's also a lot to say, oh, thank God it exists. I don't know quite how I feel about it, but it's the way things are done here. So basically, while we were doing that, as we didn't have a director attached, somebody had to do all these briefings and create characters and all that stuff. So I started just doing that, and then after a while we realized I was just doing not a so shabby job, I guess.
After a while we realized that I was the director. That's
I was actually also interviewing director candidates at the time.
Oh no.
So but that was basically just, yeah, I guess I can summarize it by just doing it, and then not waiting for people to give you the credit, but just doing it and then saying, hey, I want it. You have to also put yourself out there. I did have that talk. I did say, hey, I feel like I'm already doing this job, and should we not maybe talk about it?
Yeah, that's tough even to have, because a lot of people, I feel, they just wait and they feel like they're deserving and they want, but they don't get it. So you think maybe that would have happened if you didn't say anything?
Maybe possible. I mean, so you have to kind of have those kinds of conversations as well, I guess.
Yeah. So tell me, you're a stop motion director. Is that the spot for you? You want to get your hands on animation, on like the writing, like what is, you spent a lot of effort getting into this industry and making this a career for you. What is the thing that
my happy place is working on a project, regardless of the format, short, music video, commercial, long form, that allows me to try something that I haven't tried before. So that's kind of how my career kind of progresses. I just kind of jump from a project to another with, oh, how about if you learn something on one project and then you can do it, and the next time around I always have the drive to make it technically a bit more challenging sometimes,
Yeah.
somehow.
Totally get that. Otherwise, it
Yeah.
becomes monotonous or like like not boring, but it takes you want some fun in it. And I feel like that's what stop motion is a lot for me. It's constant problem solving in new ways. Like, how am I gonna achieve this
Yeah.
shot that I have no idea how it's gonna work out,
Yeah,
etc.
I think stop motion allows you scalability. You can really just, it could be very small and tiny, it could be immensely complicated. And so there's the possibilities are endless. So you can always find something that piques your interest and then keeps you going, I think.
So tell me, right now, how is I guess, like, what are you working on now? Are you working in a studio? Are you going from studio to studio? Like, this is your full-time thing now. How does that look like in specifically Hamburg, especially? I haven't talked to anybody in Germany before.
Well, I mean, I have been an independent freelance director for about 15 years now. So that's going fine.
Does that mean you're
And
always, because like I've talked to a lot of people in different areas of the industry, and some, it's contract to contract where they're finished one and they're on the next one right away. Some people have like months in between contracts. Is there enough stop motion work in Hamburg to keep
no,
you? Okay.
no, definitely not. And I do get this question a lot from students when I sometimes guest lecture at universities, like how and what should we do? And the first thing I tell them is, if you are into stop motion and you definitely want to do stop motion and, let's say, puppet fabrication, and that's your thing, then you cannot live in one city, not even one country. You need to be available for project. You need to go to the projects. So Europe is easy enough that you can get around with work permits and everything. So it allows you to this movement, but you need to be able to just pack your bags and say, okay, for the next year, I'm living in Madrid or wherever the project is. Or you do what I do and you just branch out and you say, I want to actually be, I want to have a garden. I want to have my apartment. I want to, I want to have these little things to have a different kind of quality of life. But then you need to be flexible on the projects that you're working on. That's why I branched out into doing commercials. I do ads. I do short films. I do whatever format comes my way. I am picky about projects only in the feature area. I have turned down quite a few projects because they're kind of more in the geared towards kids in Germany in animation. But I have also done live action commercials. I do a lot with high speed, and I'm also quite interested in the technique there. And I've done some food commercials. So it's been kind of I try to keep myself branched out, but I always keep coming back to stop motion. Whenever I can sneak it into a project, it will be a stop motion project.
So how are you getting these projects? I mean, 15 years, you're probably well known now, but are you constantly like scouting around or getting in touch with your contacts? Like, how does that work for you to jump on a music video and then do a commercial and then do a film? Like, to me, those sound like drastically different types of projects.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that one director has, experience in all of those things.
I think I don't necessarily know how it's working. It's basically just following my interests somehow lands me in the right places, I feel. I might also be doing a few things right, but yes, I mean, I think the landscape is changing a little bit these days, but usually there are ways when you are in the commercial world, how you get to jobs. You have good connections with film production companies, and when they get asked by the agencies, they will think of you. The work that you've put out, somehow people will say, oh, we want to work with that person who did the blah blah commercial. So that's how it goes, mostly through connections and people you've worked with and the work you've already done in the commercial world. For features, obviously you want to have contacts with producers that are producing features. Music video, I think it's that's really just that's contacts like musicians, or people. I've had 3 music video questions in the last week through Instagram.
Really, just people being like, "Hey,
do you wanna?"
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, so that's what I meant with, I think the landscape is changing a little bit because people have realized you can get to the creators directly through
yeah,
Instagram without all these, like the film production or the agency or the management or this and that. And they're doing their own research, I feel, because sometimes the questions, these let's collaborate or let's work on this together, is coming from so many different countries where I think, how did they even find me? Why me? I have no idea.
I
But
mean,
I'm
that was a question I
happy.
was going to ask too. Like, I have a project. What is a reason I go to Sinem for? Like, what is your offering versus like somebody else?
Um,
Like other than stop motion, like you're just a really
yeah.
great person to work with. Actually, maybe let's phrase it like this. What is the competition like for projects when you're, trying to scout around and get something? Because you mentioned to me before,
Yeah.
offhand of this recording, that you're competing against every other country and director in Europe when you're on a project. It's not just like, the other stop motion director in Hamburg. It's like every stop motion director in Europe is wanting this project, and that's how the funding works.
Yeah, well, I mean, the on a feature job, I think you're not really competing as much. It's more about like what's your tone of voice, how do you tell a story, and your personality definitely factors into that as well. Do you get along well with the producer who's bringing you the project? But in the commercial world, exactly like you just said, you're competing with an open market of, it's not just Hamburg, it's not just Germany. You're competing with Belgium, UK. I mean, it's an open market. So
That's interesting. So like I know you've done a McDonald's commercial. Say I'm
yeah,
McDonald's
yeah.
and I put a
Oh,
RFP call out. I just put it
mm-hmm.
out everywhere in Europe. I'm like,
No, no, no,
we're
no, no,
shooting a commercial for the German audience. Like,
no, no, no. The way it happens is they usually get 3 pitches from 3 different film productions and attached with a director. Basically, what they do is they decide, okay, this is kind of the budget we have for this, and we're going to put out a call to agency A, B, and C, and
okay,
that's not agency, sorry, the agency puts it out to film productions, and the film productions usually go by people they've worked with. And
right.
in the case of McDonald's, it was a film production that I had done something small together with, and they said, hey, and in that case, I was not even competing only with stop motion people. I was also competing against 3 different techniques. There was a director who was pitching live action for the same concept.
Hmm.
There was a director who was pitching complete CGI for the same concept. So I had to not only convince them I am the person to do it, but also stop motion is the way to do it.
Okay, so tell me about that, because I'm trying to currently convince somebody, I guess, that stop
Yeah.
motion is the way to go for this project instead of 2D for something I'm working on. How do you
Mm-hmm.
convince, like, what are your selling points that stop motion is going to be the winning thing versus like CG, for instance, which can do so much more than stop motion and even make it look stop motion at this point, or live action?
Yeah. No, well, yeah and no.
Yeah.
Okay. First thing, obviously, I would not really generalize it. I would have to know a little bit more about the content of your project. Or what I did on McDonald's was because they wanted to create this world folding out with a paper look. Oh, hi.
He just jumped on my lap, my dog.
So cute. Um, and the tactile aspect of stop motion was really fitting here because
Yeah.
they wanted it to just the whole miracle of their signature trays and the world just opening up in that tray and everything, and I could convince them by saying, well, it is, what's more real than real paper? I mean,
Right.
And yes, you can do the same thing in CGI. These days, you can maybe not even tell the difference, but the amount of time and effort that goes into making it CGI that looks exactly like paper, with the amount of like the production value that you have it in stop motion, that would be maybe twice the amount of the budget we had. So the budget was also probably a factor in convincing them this will look beautiful, this will look like paper and real, and it will not be as expensive to render, and it's more spontaneous. That's the other selling point, because yes, you have to have a lot of planning with any other animation thing. You have to have your boards, you have to have it really timed, and you know exactly what you're doing beforehand. But once you have the whole set in front of you, and your lighting crew, your animator, your whole crew is there, it becomes a more, new ideas can come and flow into the process. That's what I actually love about teamwork on stop motion sets. You're there, and it's not just you, it's the whole team, and you have the whole set, and you can build onto it.
Yeah. Amazing.
So.
Well, thank you. That makes total sense. Why don't we talk a little bit about your current project that you just showed me the trailer for, the pitch, Kara.
Yeah.
So can you explain a little, just explain what it is? And I have a lot of questions about it. So just start us off with what it is and why you made it.
Well, it is, when I start working on different ideas, different projects, I come from different angles, I think, and it could be something very tiny, very small. It was just the 2 lines that I wrote on a piece of paper when I had just finished Sandman around that time. It's been quite a while. That said, ducks can appear under the strangest of circumstances, fish don't. And I sent that to my trusted production designer saying, hey, funny sentence, don't you think? And she came back with a beautiful, beautiful image that went with this. And from there on, we started just working on it without knowing where it was going to go. And it finally, at some point, over quite a long time, developed into a script, a feature script. And it's just basically the next stop motion film I'm working on. Is Kara, and the story is basically, how do you say goodbye to someone after they're gone?
Interesting. I love that it started with just a sentence. I feel like some of the simplest concepts can be turned into something so beautiful. And I just watched it. It's stunning from the first moment to the last moment. I was just enthralled by the animation and the huge world that you created and everything. How did you get funding for it though? I'm curious, because this is a personal project, and there's mad production value in this. There's like motion camera rigs, there's amazing puppetry, you've hired stellar animators from around the world to work on this. Like, how do you get funding for a project like this that's so in its infancy stages? Like that's
probably the advantages of trying to make a film in the European market, because they will fund your project in different stages. So when I first had this two sentences, I could apply for, of course, with a little bit more than the 2 sentences. As an author, I didn't even need a producer on my side at that stage. I could apply for treatment funding to write a treatment. So once you have that, you can apply for the next stage, which is script funding, which I was lucky enough to get from 2 different funding bodies in Germany. And with that money, you can obviously hire a script consultant. You can really just make something professional out of it. And I think after that, you can apply, which we did also, for development funding, which is the stage where you want to get into more of the visuals, the world, the proof of concept teaser that we created. And after we were done with the teaser and building some puppets and some of the stages and some of the world, and we also produced some production artwork to see just how does this world feel like. We also, the film takes place in Istanbul. It is maybe for the listeners, it's a autobiographical fantasy based on some events that were true that got mixed up with some events that were made up. So, but we also made a couple of trips to Istanbul with a production designer, with my sound designer. It allows you, this development funding allows you all these amazing opportunities where you can just really just go research and take it all in and come back and work it into your project.
It honestly sounds like a dream. Like
that, then it becomes a little bit more difficult, because now we're at the serious stage where you apply for the really, really big money of the production financing, which is where I am right now. The pandemic hasn't really helped with the cinemas being closed and distributors working closely with cinemas, distributors being part of a minimum guarantee that helps you with your financing plan. I will not get into the nitty-gritty details of it, but it's like I said, it's a puzzle, and right now that puzzle is not completely working, so you have to find alternatives, which we're working on with my team. Yeah, I was lucky and fortunate, and I applied and I presented. There's also Cartoon Movie, which is a European pitching platform where I pitched this Kara 2018, where we got also a prize from the European body of funding, Eurimage, which allowed me to do the beat boards for the whole film. So now I have not only the script, but I have the whole beat boards planned out for the film.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How do you, like, it seems like there's so many stages that this could potentially fall apart at, like even like the first level of funding, if you don't get that for the script, like how do you make sure that you keep pushing this project and keep making it successful? Do you think it's the idea itself, or is it just how you apply for these things, or?
I think it's more personal. I think it's the amount of passion and excitement you have for your own project.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing about like all kinds of filmmaking. Your intention as a filmmaker will show through. I think that's how you communicate on a subtext, subliminal level with your audience. I think that always kind of seeps through. And I feel maybe because we touch everything, every frame and every single frame of our films, I feel like it's a bit more stronger in stop motion films.
Yeah.
That your passion, your excitement, your insecurities, you're trying to lie a little bit about one part of the story, all of it comes across. So maybe it's because I feel quite strongly about this film that it has kind of made it this far.
Well, I love that, and I hope it makes it all the way. I'd love to see the full feature film. That would be amazing.
Thank you.
And just seeing the teaser, like I'm already blown away. I think if you're listening, and you should go check it out. I'll include a link to it. But okay, so like say I'm living in Europe. I arrive in Germany.
Oh, Terry, wait, hold that thought. I have not released the teaser.
It was a special viewing for me.
But I would like to.
Okay.
Very soon. So, would you like to exclusively release it?
I can.
Why not?
Okay, let's do this. The exclusive releasing of this teaser is on this podcast. Amazing.
Why not? Yes.
Why not? I love this. I am part of this now.
Yes,
you went to the level of
no backing out.
Yeah, Terry funding to get this released, and all you have to do is come on this podcast on a Sunday. Okay.
But you had a question.
Yeah, my question is, I fly over to Europe. I'm in Germany. I got 3 months rent and $200 in my pocket.
Okay.
Not familiar. And I want to make a film. And I want to make something like you're making. Can I just start doing that? Do I need any credentials? Do I need to obviously there's levels of government funding that you've applied to. Like, can I just start, I have this idea, I put it on paper. Can I just start going for it?
If you keep it small enough, if you don't have a lot of credentials and you need to give them some sort of security that you're going to make this film. They're not really looking at your credentials to judge you on a creative level to say, let's see, what kind of a storyteller is this person? But mainly they're looking at it. We're spending government, like the actually people's tax money onto this film, are we going to see some return on it? And that doesn't need to be, luckily, a financial return. Basically, they want to make sure that you're going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to give them that trust if you are able to give them that trust. So that could mean you don't really have a lot of support structure, but you can show them the scale of the film is small enough that you can handle it. Or if it's a bigger scale, then you need to have some partners. You need to have a producer who believes in you, or someone who's produced something at that scale before, and then you can go for it. So basically, it is you can apply for it. It's just you would have to just kind of know your limitations and not chew off more than what you can bite, maybe.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And for you specifically,
No,
you've had
the other way around.
Bite off more than you chew.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of experience, directing and working with people and working in a studio space, and you know how to get resources and things. That makes sense. I'm just wondering, like, how available this is to the average person who wants to make a film.
It is because they divvy it up into these little chunks. Mm-hmm. They're also trying to be on the safe side, I guess. They're trying to mitigate risk a little bit by just giving you like 10,000 euros for writing a treatment, and then 20,000 euros for your script, and then 100,000. The amount of funding and the support you get increases with each stage, and it's always just kind of building upon each other. So that's the road for feature films. If you're making a short film, it's a little bit simpler. You just basically apply with your concept, and some drawings always help, just kind of visuals, and you get a lump sum for your short film. Nice. It's not always enough to make a short film, so you would have to combine a few funds. But fair. Yeah.
So what are you working on right now, and what's next for you other than this feature film?
I am working on Kara, of course. Yeah. I am also working on the script for a short that I'm applying for funding for in August, because I find short format is like a little breather in between. Like the long format is just like a very long marathon, and every now and then I want to just kind of take a little breather and make a short film, and then just move on. And I also have an idea, so I wanted to just kind of do that. And I'm just let's see. Maybe I might be working on a music video soon, and any other commercials that come my way.
I had a random question that I forgot to ask. It was about motion control. Like, how do you so at the studio I'm working at, there's motion control, and I have no idea how it works. And I don't. Can you go to school for it? Like, how do you even start to figure that out? Because you have this giant, like, $10,000 machine that to do anything extra, you need more money and all this rig stuff. Like, how do you even start to be like, I want a motion control shot?
I don't want you to start hating me, but I got very lucky on that too.
That's fine.
Okay.
You're a lucky person.
When I was talking to people to put together a team on Sandman about 10 years ago, I met this person who saved our ass on the teaser that we were shooting for Sandman, because we were trying to figure this old monster of a Cooper self-built, custom-built, humongous machine, trying to make that work for something. There was also scaling involved. There was quite a lot of technical stuff involved in that. And through one contact, I was introduced to Julian Hermansen. And I remember after he came at 2 a.m. to the studio, saved us, and left some notes for me to give to the DOP, and then the post-production and everything. I was like, why do I have to relay these notes? I think we need this person on this team. Because I thought if we have this in the teaser, we're going to have more of it in the production. And then we had a very long coffee where I was, I think, 4 hours. He trained me on what motion control is,
wow,
how it works. Why do I need it? And how can I use it, from repeat passes to scaling to other nifty tricks you can do with it. And then I thought, okay, I think he needs to be on board. So he became actually the visual effects supervisor on Sandman. We did quite a lot of crazy things that I haven't really seen repeated. I mean, there is, if you go to my Instagram, there's a post about Sandman motion control, where we 3D animated. I had written into the script a lot of flying boats. Don't ask me why. I didn't know it was going to be this difficult. I was still naive. And then we took a lot of flying objects were there, and heavy objects, because they had to also support puppets and everything. And we 3D animated those objects, and then we took the movements and divvied it up between two different motion control systems. One not even running on the same system, like software. One of them was a Cooper system, one of them was a Animoco from Mark Roberts. And we gave the object's movement in space to one system, and the forward movement of the object in the reverse format to the other system. So if the boat is going forward, the boat was standing in place, just moving in its own axes, and the camera was going backwards. And when you play it, then it looks like, so we split basically the movement to make the lighting easier, to make the animator's job easier. And I think that was quite crazy what we did there, and it became very, very efficient.
Yeah, I've seen the post on Instagram you're talking about with the boat in the air, and like you see how it was rendered in 3D space, and then how it was like perfected in real life. It's quite incredible. Yeah. I mean, so I was just
from there on, I never wanted to work without motion control ever again.
It just looks so good though, right? Like
it does. And I do really like camera movements that are drawing you into the film, that are subtle enough, that are soft enough. I don't necessarily go for these very fast and gimmicky kind of, I don't want to. Sometimes the story calls for those kinds of things. It's a stylistic choice, but my choice is just kind of making the camera part of the viewer's experience. Is just drawing you into the story, basically. It shouldn't really cry out, hello, I'm here, but it should actually just kind of take you and lead you where you need to be. And that softness in stop motion, how else are you going to achieve it?
You with a measuring tape and a very steady hand, basically, and a crank. But and this is another reason, if you're listening, to go check out the teaser to Kara, which is exclusively launched in this podcast. You have an absolutely beautiful shot where the curtains open up, and you just like, you come past this bridge, and the camera pans over, following this bus, and just. Sorry, I'm like revealing everything here.
You can, it's okay.
And you see this wonderful shot of this entire city, which I cannot believe you built. It looks amazing, absolutely amazing. Like I would just
come
and see your studio, because it just looks phenomenal.
You're always welcome. I mean, when we can safely fly around.
Cancel the pandemic somehow.
Yep.
And then put in the budget my flights. And there we go. I'll come work on it. Done.
Okay. Done. Deal.
Done. Okay. Yeah. This is great. This is
all right.
What the podcast is all about. Just
why not?
Launching trailers and getting me jobs.
Getting you jobs. I knew you had a ulterior motive.
Yes.
But to my advantage, I have an awesome animator now.
What up? Yeah. Well,
why not? Okay. Why not?
Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to add, the crazier thing is, which is obviously, I'm not going to put it up in 3D, but we shot that whole teaser also 3D stereoscopic.
Oh my goodness.
So
double the work.
Double the work in every single aspect. I mean,
nobody will ever see it.
Yeah, I had it was so beautiful. It is so, I mean, I'm not really into 3D. I feel like it's not that necessary, but when it comes to stop motion, and this whole tactile aspect, I think the moment you realize 3D makes it a little bit more kind of accessible, and you know the scale all of a sudden, but it's walking on its own or doing things on its own, and it's just, oh my God, it's
Maybe you should do a little social media post of that so we can see that too. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know how to do it, but I will look into it. I have no idea how to put a 3D trailer out there, that people can
It's your
also
new
watch in
challenge,
3D.
you know?
Yes,
It's a
thank
new
you.
challenge for you. This is
Okay,
amazing.
that's next for me.
Yeah.
Figure out.
We've talked a lot. We've talked about, you know, your journey from
Mhm.
Turkey to the States, and then, you know, leaving Hollywood where everything is happening to go to Germany,
To make films.
and making a career out of it by being flexible and you know, having a garden and you know, your directing work and your future projects. Is there anything you wanted to? I know you've been listening to podcasts for a while, and you're, you know, you're steeped in the animation industry yourself. Is there anything you wanted to share or talk about, or, you know, things that have been interesting along the way for you or challenging specifically? Just anything.
Well, I don't know what's on my mind currently as it relates to stop motion and animation in general, or the visual arts generally, is how our social media interactions are changing the way we watch things. I have a fear, including
Yeah.
me, that I will not be able to watch long format stuff that actually,
I'm already having trouble doing that.
yeah, me too,
When
a
I
little
watch a
bit.
movie now, I take breaks at home. I
Yeah.
take a break. I like put it on pause, come back to it maybe tomorrow, the next day.
Yeah, and that kind of scares me a little bit, because I love the immersion of just concentrated, just giving something your time, developing and easing into a story, going with the character, learning, blah blah blah. And now it's more like, put a like if it's more than 3 seconds, you've already moved
Yeah.
on to the next video, and it's so much work that goes into these things that, I don't know. When I share my work on Instagram or other platforms, I think twice, thrice, four times about it, thinking like, do I really want to put it out there as like a little, like, is it just going to be, there was so much work that went into this. But I also don't have any other outlets. I mean, we were talking about it, who goes to look at your website anymore? What's a website? um I that's the thing, that I don't have an answer. It's just basically just
Yeah.
a conversation I'm having, with anyone who will ask me this question, like, what are you thinking
Yeah.
about? This is what I'm thinking about. How does that change the way we tell stories? How does it change, like, our consumption of like, do we look at it as like a consumer? um
Yeah. I mean,
I don't.
that's something I think about all the time too, especially because, like, you know, I'm coming into this career a little bit midlife for myself, and trying to figure out, you know, the stability and what I want to do with it, and exploring social media. And, you know, that's where you have like BuzzFeed and 5 minute crafts that have
Yeah.
popped up, because it's just, you get a dopamine rush for seeing something for like 2 seconds and you move on. But I think, like, and the pandemic has not helped, because when I'm home, I'm so distracted. I'm like, what's going on Instagram? What's on
Yeah.
TikTok? What's on my email? Like, what is on YouTube? But like, something that I really miss is going to a theater and like having to tune out
Yeah.
everything and just sitting back for an hour and enjoying a story. And I'm hoping that when the pandemic is over and things open up, that that becomes a thing again, because I really think we're missing that storytelling experience currently. At least for myself, I am.
Yeah.
So, but
I
maybe
will I will raise my coffee glass to that.
I
I
don't have
hope
any glasses.
very.
I'll raise my my
Yeah.
mic. Yeah.
Yeah, I do really hope that movie theaters stay alive and well.
Yeah.
Even with the binging and the watching stuff at home, the screen's bigger and the experience is more comfortable, etc., etc. It's not the same. So I really do miss that
Yeah.
atmosphere
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Also just being part of a crowd that
Yeah.
gets excited about the same thing. It's a different.
You're all experiencing at the same time, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, the excitement. I mean, conversely, there's also the opportunity to explore very short format storytelling, which I haven't really seen any good examples of somebody doing that, kind of like on Instagram, where they create like obviously it takes so much time and money and effort, but like a very short, like just format series that you can kind of watch 3 seconds and 5 seconds a day or something, you know?
A series not, but there are some examples. Like I am completely obsessed by The Tiny Chef.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great example, right? And that wouldn't exist in any other format. Like that can exist on. I mean, I hear it's going to be a TV show.
Yeah, so did I. Congratulations, Tiny Chef.
Yeah, right. But that's a great example of something that has taken advantage of the format in a really great way. So
yeah, so I guess you can be maybe less story, more character driven, because what keeps me watching Tiny Chef or formats alike is the character and lovability, and the instant connection of like, and then you can move in, maybe you can get people to watch those things and then move into telling little longer stories every time or something. Yeah.
Well, that's also something on my mind too, because like I'm still trying to figure out, because I would like to, get into a place kind of where you are, where you're directing and telling your own stories and getting funding and stuff. And that's something that I'm constantly trying to figure out for myself. I just need to dive in at some point and go.
You just need to do it, Terry.
Yeah, I stop thinking about this and just get 1 hour of sleep after work, stay up all night, get another hour.
Look, it's easy. You have to be born in Turkey. Go study something completely irrelevant. Oh, wait, you did do all of that. You did go into business consulting or some business job.
Yeah, but I wasn't born in Turkey. I didn't. So, I was born in Canada, stayed in Canada, still in Canada.
Well, okay, we can change the birthplace, but I think you're on the right path. You should just jump into it now.
Yeah. But it's so funny because like me jumping from my business career into animation was such a moment. Like it was years in the making. And then as soon as I made that switch, it was just like on off switch. This is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm doing every day. But even to like, to go from school to like, I put school on pause to take a job, that was a tough decision too. And when I made the switch, no problem. It's just, I just feel like, what am I trying to say? I just need to dive in and do it. And then it's just getting done.
And it's done.
But it's like the mental barriers to doing it, your brain is like evaluating risks and comfortability and where you're at and fears and all these things. Yeah. And it's,
well, I mean, I think it's also not only that, but also being like filmmaker, storyteller, artist. It's probably the same fear that we all have, this imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Like you do something and then you're thinking like, what if I did it all wrong? I mean, there's really no one way of doing it. So I might be screwing this up really badly. And maybe just saying, screw that, it's so what, then it's a mistake. So it's a story that wasn't really well told. It's not going to hurt anyone.
But you learn from it and you know how to do it better next time. But 100%, it's like with artistic things, there's no right and wrong. Even if it does feel wrong, it's still right. Like it's not like data entry where you put the numbers in Excel and you do them and that's the right way. It's like there's infinite ways to make this happen, but there's also a lot of fear. Like, are people going to like this? Do I even know what I'm doing? Like, it's anxiety.
Why should they listen to me? Right? There's so many other talented people who are established.
I don't have anything unique to say. I'm not famous. I don't have 1 million followers. Like,
so those are the voices that we need to just say, shut up. Everybody has that.
Yeah.
And just do it. Do what makes sense for you, I guess.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to take this to heart. I mean, so once my contract wraps up, I have a plan to start something that has been on my mind for many years. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
All the best of luck with it. I'm curious.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, it's something it's when you think about something for so long, it becomes such this big thing in your mind and you don't even like know where to start. I feel like that's where I'm at, but I just have to put it down on something.
Finding partners, creative partners who will share the excitement in your project has been my savior
How
throughout
did you, so
my career.
that is something that I've been looking for, and like was a big reason why I went to animation school, because I wanted to be surrounded, instead of just, you know, learning on my own, I wanted to be surrounded by
Mhm.
other people all the time. And how did you end up finding somebody you really jived with? Because like I don't feel like I've found that yet myself, and I really
Mhm.
want that, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's a few people that are my go-to people. Like the production designer Anna Hoffman. Her work is amazing, and she makes your stories better. And although she will give you a lot of notes, like we should change this part of the story because look at this picture. This is much better, and it should take place in Japan now. um, but no, seriously, I started working with her on the Three Robbers. It was just people that you just kind of click with along the
Mm.
way on different projects. Even
Yeah.
though I wasn't a director, she wasn't working with me on my idea, but there was something that we just kind of started exchanging. I think sentences a day. Like I was just writing, scribbling things, and she was just making funny drawings to that. And that's how our partnership there, I guess, started. And then it went on to, obviously I wanted her to be part of Sandman. She's the production designer on Sandman. And then we worked on quite a lot of projects together. And now whenever I have, even if it's just a half idea, I will just send her an email, see if
Ah,
she's my kind of checkpoint,
yeah, that's,
basically, to see if the idea is good or not. If a picture comes back, then I know it inspired someone.
yeah.
And the same goes for the team that I have here. Again, over the years, through different projects, there's people who build puppets and sets, and they have aesthetic, like art direction ambitions, and they they got excited with a few things that I gave them, and we started collaborating, and that's how that kind of flourished. So, and with obviously Julian, it's he has taught me so much from the technical aspect. He's a technical person with a very creative vision. So it's yeah, I guess
But
collect people, good
yeah.
people throughout the years from other projects.
So you're just working on a project, and you get a feeling you're gonna vibe with this person, and you send them something and it sparks
Yeah,
something, and maybe it doesn't work out, but maybe it does. Okay, good. I mean,
yeah,
I love that it's organic versus like, hello, I would
yeah.
like to have a creative partner. Here,
or an
here,
Instagram post. I am looking for.
please send your application to, yeah. Okay.
And don't underestimate, you also probably have a lot of people who come to you for advice now. And people who seem to be mentees turn out to be people who actually have a lot of creative input into certain things. I've worked with a couple of people that way too.
Makes sense, yeah.
And they were actually asking me things, and I thought, your work, amazing. Shall we do a short together? So
They're like,
um,
yes, you're my idol, of course.
so it's yeah, just
Nice.
see, look for organic, kind of like people you click with on a more, like, you don't have to be the best friends, but
Yeah.
just on a personal level seem to be good creative partners.
Okay, that's good advice. I'm gonna start putting out my feelers, I think, because
Yeah.
I have not been really doing that. It's weird, but I've been keeping my ideas private for some reason, like no reason. I just have not that I'm intending to keep them private. I just haven't made any effort to share them with anybody, I guess.
Is it
So
is it the more like the Northern American culture of project
I think it's
secrecy?
just me. You know, like there's just I don't really have anything on paper yet, and I'm just being timid about talking about these things. So I'm going to use this chat as my inspiration to go into work and chat with my coworkers and be like, here's something I'm working on. What do you think? I think this
How
is
lovely.
yeah,
That's Yeah,
this has been
that
my
makes me happy.
oh good. Is there anything you else? I guess as you know, as we're kind of wrapping up, is there anything else you wanted to share, or anything on your mind, or anything else that
No.
makes you happy, or just how was this experience chatting with a Canadian on a
It was awesome. It was very easy. Thank you for
So easy.
inviting me, and thank you for making it so easy to chat.
Oh, good.
It's been awesome. No, I think I mean I can go on, but I don't maybe
If you feel compelled, please, like if you have things.
No,
you
I
want
don't.
to do, so.
I don't necessarily have anything specific on my mind. It's
Okay.
just it's you're a very, very nice and easy to chat person. So
Well, thank you. Well, okay, I guess that's it. But is there any final advice for?
listen to the animation podcast. I have been doing it, I think, since you started. I've been a
Wow.
fan. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's really inspiring to listen to, because it's exactly because of everything we just said about there's no one right way of doing it. Showing more and more examples of how people have landed where they've landed in their paths, the mistakes they've made, the success stories, highlighting all of that is such an amazing support structure. I think you're doing an awesome job. So thank you for the animation podcast.
Oh my gosh, I might tear up a bit. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me, honestly. And
it's heartfelt.
That's a big part of what I am trying to do, because like, you know, my own journey was so important to me on like making this decision, and just learning about how other people get into this. It's incredible. Everybody has a different path completely, and different resources when they start out, and the drive to pursue a career in animation and specifically stop motion is so strong for some people. And it's I find it amazing to hear stories like yours, like incredible. Hi, I'm going to go to a country where I don't know any of the language. I don't even know how to animate really. And like, amazing. What the heck? Incredible.
Maybe we have ruined the lives of a few young people who have listened to this podcast and are inspired to go out and do something they have no clue about.
But I feel like, you know, if you're not doing that with your life, then like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
All right.
Well, I think that's an awesome closer.
I was going to say,
stop motion.
Let's wrap it up on what are you doing with your life? What the heck? You're listening to this. What are you doing? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the chat. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and I'm really happy we connected. This has been great.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And if you're listening and you want to get in touch with or follow Sinem's work, you can do so by checking out her Instagram. And I'm going to try my hardest to pronounce your last name. I might butcher it, but it's Sinem_Sakaoglu.
That was almost correct. Sinem_Sakaoglu.
Sakaoglu.
Yeah.
Okay. Sinem
awesome.
_Sakaoglu. And I'll include that as well as a link to the teaser that she just finished up on Kara, which is an incredible the Turkish fantasy film. You should definitely give it a watch in the description of this podcast. So please check that out. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye. The music for this podcast was composed by Will Farmer and the graphics by Daniel Abensauer. I encourage you to look them up if you enjoyed their work.